Yeah. It was the only background image with anything related to running, so that's why I chose it. Okay, so yeah, I've got a list of notes, just random stuff, not really organized, so we may talk about one topic and then 10 minutes later bring it back up as a second comment about it. So, I mean, I'm glad you're here. One of those things that it's probably pretty healthy to once a year sit down and say, hey, do we want to do anything different? Is there anything not working, anything that could be better? Obviously, you know, new guys, kind of, you've done some races, you already have some ideas of how things flow, but it's a good time to also get some input on the old guys, me and Chris, because timing can be one of those things that, man, we've lost a lot of timers, because it's like, man, this is stressful and crazy, and then you got some people, it's like, man, I love this, and so it's one of those things that probably, the ones that are stressful and crazy, when I find it crazy, like the Huckabees, great family, I love Hayden and Holly Huckabee. But it just didn't work out for them. Now, a lot of features have been added since then, and that make some of the headaches they experience better, but a lot better, in fact. We had the biggest blunder. We only had really one real blunder, and that was at the Hog-Eye race.
Oh, in Bisbee.
It was, yeah. And that was all my fault. And I hate to admit it, but that's the truth. So they did a great job. We were doing all the complaints that they said that they've had with previous timers, that first night, she's like, man, this is amazing, you guys are killing it, right? And their volunteers were not good about passing out the right bid numbers, right? And so we had our tag check station, and she was just blown away how many people we caught and got all that squared away. And then I timed a race Saturday morning, and I think I did something Friday night, because I remember I didn't sleep at all Friday night, and I didn't sleep at all Saturday night. And so, like, not at all. I was up all night getting things prepared for the next day or whatever, for both races. And I guess I had a race Friday night, maybe I had one Saturday morning in Little Rock, and that one in wherever. And so, I show up. Of course, I'm dealing with multiple databases now. You know, I got one from the Omega race, one from the race maybe we did Friday or something. Maybe I was uploading photos and results for, I don't remember what was going on. But I remember the night before, they said, why don't we just leave all of our equipment out at the check-in area, and that way it's just, we don't have to bring all the stuff from the hotel room. I said, I can see someone stealing our stuff, so let me do the safe thing, the smart thing, and copy the database onto a jump drive. That way, you know, we've got at least one computer, we got enough stuff to go, but we'll leave it all here. Well, in my process, I never realized it. That's the problem. If I would have realized it, I could have fixed it that night, or at least stayed up again all night, putting stuff back in. But I copied the other way. I copied from the jump drive and overwrote the database.
I showed up race morning, got on the computer, opened the race, and there were no participants. None.
Yeah.
Brian, where's all the stuff?
Yeah.
It's on there. No, there's no. What?
And I was out setting up the split stations on the course.
Yeah.
And so I ended up having to leave one station, not set up.
How did y'all fix it?
All during the race, I was putting stuff in. We were going through our notes from the night before, trying to okay, this person switched from this race to that race, and trying to immediately put in all those race day the registrations here in packet pickup. Can you come out and help me bring all this stuff in? Yeah, would you care to do it? Yeah. So that was Hayden and Holly Huckabee's last race. And the thing is, they were respectful about it. Everything was, you know, they're nothing but respectful, right? So, but we haven't had any, you know, huge headaches at all since then. But races it's just, what I equate it to is you're the wedding coordinator jumping into Bridezilla, right? So I mean, like, the race director, they do this maybe once a year, maybe it's the first time they've ever done it, and so they're scrambling, they're freaking out, you know, I gotta make sure the course is ready, water's out, volunteers are ready, registration, you know what I'm saying, so you're walking in.
It's just chaos.
You're walking in, well, it can be, you know, I mean, most of the time, the race directors are people that are, like, really respected in the community, you know, like, okay, he's the leader of this, and he's helping to put this, you know, like, or a pastor's doing this for whatever, really neat people, and you're really helping. You know, every race has got a great cause, just about. I mean, there's some that are just 100% for profit, like Sillamore. I asked the guy, I said, so what's this help? He said, me. You know what I'm saying? Like, he didn't say it that way, but then basically it's, no, I run this race. You know, I'm the one that puts all this down. I get the profits of it. And so I was like, that's pretty cool. You know, if you can, I'm sure he's got a real job that brings in enough to where really you could do that as your once a year job, you know?
And so what's his face? Jay or John Ferris? Is he not going to time anymore?
No, he's at a race. He is timing, but he couldn't come today, so we'll have to meet up tomorrow with him. And so 2 of the timers, or potential timers we're going to have moved off. So Justin Morse, he also helps me develop on the software some. He timed a few races last year. He moved to Colorado. He's working still for Tiger, but living up there. And so that's why I'm kind of glad you're interested, because I mean, we're going to have some weekends where Jonathan's not available, and maybe Jason, like, it'll just all flush out. But yeah, the more timers we have, the better, because I mean, what if, my biggest fear is on those weekends where everyone's booked and someone has some family emergency. Like, that's hundreds of people at the race, depending on, you know what I'm saying? Like, that would be a bad thing. So, and so we'll get cups.
We each get our own pizza, you know?
Well, I'm going to get enough for 12 people. My coworkers over there said, "Man, come on over and get something."
Are they
Jamie and the
working
twins.
today?
Well, he's working on a side project. He's pretty excited about it. Yeah, well, not side project, but
Hey, how are you?
So, anyways, I didn't mean to cover any of that stuff really.
I get the point though.
Oh, so what I was going to say is that we, as a timer, we walk in, and it's very common that when Chris shows up at a race, the race director runs up, usually a female, and gives him a hug. You know what I'm saying? Because they know, okay, the timer's here. Like, they do this every weekend. They can help me organize the madness, right? And so,
Jonesboro cross country coach. I always get there,
Matt Williams.
Matt Williams, 2 hours prior to the race. We'll hit district meet.
Yeah.
There's only 5 teams there, so I'll have to get there. Takes me 20 minutes, I'm set up, 30 minutes, I'm set up for his race.
Yeah.
Well, I was about there an hour and 45. He's calling Brian, wanting to know where I'm at. He's panicking, he wants to freak out. Where is he? Where is he? So I show up, and then 30 minutes later, I'm doing this because I'm bored, and you know, all set up, ready to go. He was just panicking.
so just be aware that, you know, you're the calm person in the storm, and yeah, I mean, the thing is, most races, you show up early enough, and you're before anybody else. It's pitch dark and it's peaceful, you know.
And most of the time, if you do mess up,
Then we get plates and cups.
most race directors wouldn't know.
You're
Keep it
just
to
gonna know,
yourself,
like,
keep it cool. They don't know the difference after going, oh, that was great, that was awesome. Now, if you mess up the results or something like that, they'll notice that. But if it's just a little glitch, they won't have the slightest idea that something ever happened.
You gotta do one, like, you can talk about it all day, but once you do one, it kinda helps alleviate the question marks you feel.
Yeah,
You
how
know?
many did you do last year?
I did one by myself, and I think I helped with 2, maybe 3 or so. Did he say?
but they're still nervous. I go to every one of them, and they're still.
Oh, yeah.
I just have particular races that I'm nervous every time I show up. It's just I don't know why. Okay. What's in there?
Brian, I don't wanna rush, but what time do you think will be?
Oh, I'll go through my bullet points here. Primarily,
While he's talking, y'all get some pizza.
yeah, your pizza. In the kitchen, there's an ice maker. And just be sure to use the little plastic pull-out handle at the top.
You look like you haven't been kept up with it all today, I'm sorry. Sleeping and being lazy.
So I'll run through my points then real fast. So basically the goal for each timer is, the goal is eventually for everyone to be 100% independent. Like, you know, kind of the way, maybe I shouldn't say it this way, but the reality is, like, we're giving you a business in a box kind of thing, and we even give you the races. And so eventually we want it to where, like, you treat it and it's your thing. Like, your race directors, in fact, people ask me all the time if I work for Chris.
Really?
Yeah, and so your race director, they will probably ask me the same way, oh, do you work for Seth? Like, all they know is you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And once you have a race, that's your race, because you're familiar with the layout, you're familiar with the race director, you know everything.
It's almost like you've already built that relationship.
Exactly, so we're not gonna switch it. And so, so what's saying that the goal is that eventually you're 100% independent, which means eventually you'll be even making your own tags and bids, preparing them and everything, and Chris is not in the middle of it, right? So,
What year is that one?
I don't know, they don't put date on there, so
Never know.
I've got all 5 of them that I planned. Last year they went with the multicolored, so
Yeah, the red.
red and gray.
I sold my ticket a few weeks ago.
so we're not gonna throw you out there without being trained, and without, you know, we're gonna make sure you get the right equipment. But if I need to come to the first 5 races or whatever it takes, you know, that's no problem.
Yeah.
I don't want anyone to be in a position where they take a risk and say, well, I think I got it on my own, and then something go bad, because who's it fall on? It falls on me, right? So So
When Dr. Pepper Sawyer.
we kind of had to throw Jonathan out there on his own the first time, but he did awesome. I was,
You make it.
I was so proud when I showed up and like there was nothing major to do.
Sink or swim.
It was amazing. So, because you had very little time. You
The
guys
thing
had-
is, if you've ever done,
That was a crazy morning because we did a drop off with Kaz.
Oh, it was crazy.
That was a real wild
Three-
morning.
if you've ever done any running before, been to a meet,
That helps a
you
lot.
kind of have the mental picture of what is required,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that helps.
You're taking all the
Good
good
few
stuff.
races.
So, the idea is we'll give you, Chris will say, hey, Jonathan, are you available on May 3rd or whatever it is, or set whatever weekend. And of course,
on the Google Drive, there's only
Is that
like
yours?
30 something races right now.
Oh, that
but
feels
last,
quick.
last year there was like 70, so
I
oh,
think
well,
we did 73
people wait
last
to the
year.
last
Those
second
will-
to,
yeah.
to
Well,
hire a
I've
timer.
had 6 requests for one weekend, and,
Oh, really?
so, yeah.
Good.
But we've claimed 4 of them, one of them never responded back, and I send them all the information, I have a contact letter that I send out to anybody that wants information, and here's what we have, what we offer, here's our pricing, let me know. I said I'll answer any questions, there are no dumb questions, and I try to build the relationship there and communication back and forth, set it up for whoever's gonna time it.
Yeah.
Once everything gets set up, I try to pass it on to whoever's gonna time it, and
Yeah, we had
run
a
with it.
couple of requests this week. Did you call the Ashley girl, whatever I sent you the?
Yeah, I sent her the
Okay, yeah.
letter.
So, I mean,
or the-
Yeah.
We get requests all the time. And
Yeah, I don't do a lot of marketing though either.
Not at all. We don't need to. I mean, it's one of those things that I'm scared to because we are stretched so thin already with timers. And so now I say that it's
Well, Carson-
know that it's this spring few weeks and fall few weeks. So it's not like we're stretched so thin all year long. It's
Yeah.
like there's
It's
those
like-
weekends.
There's nothing
there.
this summer
Like
because it's too hot,
March
and
to
the winter's
May
too
and
cold. Yeah.
September to November.
Yeah. But yeah, eventually the goal is that Chris emails you, calls you, whatever, and you simply say yay or nay if you want it. And of course, it's one of those things that once you say yes,
It's on.
it's on. Like you can't back out. So it's obviously if you look at the Google Calendar, which we can make sure you have access to, and you see, okay, Brian's not doing anything that weekend. It looks like, and something came up for me. Hey, we'll swap it around. If everyone's busy, it's. Yeah, so just put a little thought into it before you accept it. Make sure that there's nothing else you got going on, especially if it's those busy weekends.
Now, keep in mind also that I've timed for 4 years now, I've timed races in Broken Bow, Oklahoma area, and the word gets out there, so now I've been asked to,
Gotcha. Yeah.
month through month, I have Oklahoma races too, so I mean, it's a long drive, but that mileage check is really, it's almost as much as the race itself, so I try to create activities with the boys in the state park, that kind of
Yeah,
thing,
man.
so if you got somebody that can go with you,
Yeah.
then
Yeah, we
help out,
timed.
you can make a weekend of it, so
We timed.
I might ask you, and I've got one coming up in April, it kinda depends on other races, but
I think, is that the one you texted me about?
I think so, April
You
7th, I
said,
think.
you said they were still deciding
Yeah.
on what to do.
Yeah, so to sum up that first point here is that Chris will give you a race, you say yay or nay, and from that point forward, in the beginning, we're not expecting this. We're going to show you, hey, here's the question you should ask, and we'll guide you through it. But after 5 to 10 races or whatever it takes, you'll know what questions to ask, and I've got a list here. But then at that point, really there's very little work until the week before, because usually when we're done timing one weekend, I start thinking about, okay, what's the next weekend? Do I need to start doing anything? And by Thursday, I'm like reaching out to the race director, hey, you got this, and what about that? So, I mean, maybe I should reach out earlier, but, in the very beginning, early, I'm asking a few basic questions, but it's not a whole lot of work before race day, as long as you got bibs and tags ready. Besides that,
When you have that race, you're in charge of getting all the bibs and tags ready?
well, in the beginning, I guess, I don't know how we're gonna, that may be something Chris talks about in a second, because right now, he's doing all the work and preparing.
So basically, like, if I were to have a race, I would be in charge of getting all the bibs and tags prepared for it.
Up to this, thanks, sir. Up to this point, I've got a drawer full, I've got 1,000 or 1,500 made up right now, so I'm set for a while. Now, once you get, I want you to get acclimated, timing the races and all that stuff, not more pressure of programming the bibs and all that stuff, and all. The safety pins, I need those. The box said 65 pounds, so I've got plenty of safety pins.
Yeah,
But yeah, so I would do that, for me, most of the races are 100 to 200 max.
Yeah.
Occasionally you get to a bigger one. But I would probably charge $20 for my time and effort on programming the tags, getting them all bagged up, the bags of 100, that kind of thing. It's just,
Are
you don't think about it, but it does take time to do it.
Yeah. You're talking about charging the race director?
Well,
No,
No.
Chris, like if,
out of
as
your
long as
proceeds,
he's, yeah.
I would request say $20 from you
Oh,
for
gotcha.
doing that
Yeah,
aspect.
yeah.
of it.
It is, yeah, that's well worth it, because you just
Yeah.
grab a bag of,
Yeah.
tag of bags, a couple bibs, and you're ready to go.
Yeah, so, I don't mean to sound greedy and all that, but it's time and effort that,
It is time and effort to, because he sometimes also has to make the tags. He makes the tags, programs them, attaches them to bibs, and then he puts them in a packet ready for y'all to give out. So I mean, $20 is, that's nothing. So I don't know if you're offering to continue doing it as long as they're willing to pay, or just eventually cut them off.
well,
when
I'd
they
like
do
them to get
themselves.
comfortable worrying about the race itself rather than
Of course,
that first, so.
yeah, but I didn't know, okay.
So whenever you feel comfortable to take over that aspect of it, I order them all on my tags from Mile Split, they're 11 cents a
Bibs,
piece, my bibs, yeah. So, you keep me posted on what you wanna do.
Yeah.
But yeah, eventually you'll do every aspect of it. And really nothing is overwhelming. You just had a few things before the race. Of course, you got race day. And then after the race, in the comfort of your home, when things kind of unwind, you know, upload results and photos and videos and all that stuff. Just typical what you'd expect if you're a runner. You know, not too long. I don't want to wait days to see my stuff online, right? And so, all right. So when you get, you know, a race given to you, I just wrote down some questions. I don't expect you to remember these, just to get an idea of the type of stuff you need to ask for. You know, we try to make it to where the race director, because again, the more variables you have, the more problems you're going to have. So the more we can take away from the race director, like things they have to worry about, like we don't ask them to supply, we used to ask them to supply safety pins. We don't do that anymore. We just, look, we supply everything. Basically we do all things registration and finish line, you do the course, we don't do that. And so, now I've got a measuring wheel, if someone in town needs to borrow one or whatever, I mean, all that stuff we can handle or help them with it. They take care of the course, make sure volunteers are out there, all that stuff. So the questions we ask are primarily to make sure that we know everything, all the variables, everything's ruled out, that they've thought about, you know, different things. So number one, where is the registration area and the finish line located? You gotta know where that's at, because you're gonna be there before anybody else on race morning. And so if the race is at 8, usually you're there I'm there like 5 or earlier,
Wow.
like crazy early. And the reason why is because if you're setting up when everyone else is there and setting up, the race director's gonna come ask you questions, and you know, it's just much nicer to have 90% of your stuff set up before they even get there. And it's just calm and peaceful. Yeah, it's early, but it's well worth
It's worth it, yeah, in the
yeah.
long run.
to have everything done. And plus they get comfort too when you show up, when they show up, and it's like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
like things are rolling, this thing's, you know, happening. And
Depending on the
Yeah.
race, I will try, if possible, to meet with the race director the night before, just so I know,
if you're traveling there, or
if you're traveling, where the finish line is gonna be, where I'm setting up, which way they're coming from. That way, if I get there early enough, I can start setting up before they arrive. And when they get there, you're half set up.
Yeah, everyone's in the all factor instead of the
primarily,
OMG factor.
yeah, oh yeah, primarily it's just you can't not have the finish line set up by the time the race starts. And so like the thing is, if you wait till people start showing up, they're gonna come ask you questions. There's gonna be distractions, and if it's a racing town, oh Seth, what are you doing nowadays? You know, and you're like, you want to be nice, but at the same time, you got something you got to do. And so, anyway.
We got this.
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, so kind of the quick notes about that. You know, you need to know, like Chris said, which direction the runners are coming from, not just where the finish line's at. So keep in mind you're going to be setting up in the dark. So it may be wise to ask the race director, hey, can you put some kind of marker on the road? Not just tell me roughly where it's at, because your finish line, you're going to lay the mats out. You can't move that stuff real easy once you set it all out. And so you need to kind of know exactly where they want it. And so, number 2, we need to know what kind of registration platform they're using. You know, most of them are going to use like Races Online or whatever, because what a lot of racers around here use. So just kind of, you know, they need to know that we need that data at some point. And so, right or wrong, what we do, they don't seem to complain, and I mean, they trust us, is we simply ask them for the credentials. You know, hey, what's your username and password to get in, if you don't mind sharing it with us. Otherwise, you have the burden of making sure that you get online and download that data, and send it to us, and of course, what if they download it and send it as a PDF document or something crazy we can't use?
Yeah.
So it's just easier for all parties involved if they either give us their credentials, or, like run sign up, and most sites probably have it to where they can set us up as timers, which means we can log in and get it. I don't know if Races Online does that, but I know Run Sign Up does. But the thing is, that's still putting kind of some technology in, that they have to know how to do. So often it's just easier for.
One thing I'll let the race directors know is, you will have to email me an Excel spreadsheet, download everything online, everything, and I will delete the portions that I don't use. I don't care about the financial aspects of it. I just need these particular columns. I'll delete everything else, and you'll have to email me that Thursday evening, or else send me your login information.
Or after
credentials.
online registration closes, something.
Yeah, something like that. And most of the time, if you'll do it, then here, then they'll just give you your login
Yeah.
information, and it's
Yeah.
easier that way.
Writing all this down.
Understand?
Well, I can.
Did you
I
have
can
to do that last year, any of that?
I think when I did it, I think you
I tried-
communicated with the race director. a
Yeah,
few
we
times before.
tried to make sure your first race is primarily you just showing up and setting up.
Right,
Like we tried to
You're
do
setting
everything
up
for
and
you.
doing it, yeah. We'll have everything.
Yeah,
Most of the headaches out of the way.
yeah.
There's some days.
This is all
that
the
just
prep
happen.
work to get to that point.
Yes.
Before race day, yeah.
Another thing you have to know is that you gotta know the award breakdown. That way you can set the race up in the software to where it breaks everything out like they want it. Which at Hogeye, this is again years ago, the software didn't handle like masters divisions, and what if someone wants to be included in masters and the overall and their age division too. Software does all that stuff. So.
And you have to be, all the races around here, if you win overall,
Yeah.
take them out of the age group, spread the wealth.
Uh-huh.
If you're in Oklahoma, most of those, they get extremely mad
Huh.
if they don't also win their age group. So it just depends on where you're at. Just
Really?
verify with the race director.
Wow.
Yes,
And the software easily handles either one. We just gotta know. So.
And you gotta be ready, cause even Forest City, they changed it up on me, cause he
Yes, they'll
wanted,
change up.
everybody to get an award, so. I mean, it was like looking at him like jigsaw puzzle for a second, so like we made them 14 to 18 instead of
yes.
15 to 20 or whatever.
Change
it might
the
have
age
been,
groups
yeah.
and, yeah.
Oh, wow, okay.
And that's
But
easy to do.
it's
with
easy
software.
to do,
It's
This
just,
is it.
yeah. So you also need to ask them how many races you're timing. Obviously, if it's like the Sylamore, it's 2 races, a 25K and 50K.
Uh-huh.
50K starts first. An hour later, 25K starts. I will say, side note, not in my notes here. The longer the race, the easier it is to time. Because you got like at Sylamore, we can not have anything set up at the finish line except for enough to do the chip start.
Mhm.
And then after everyone leaves, we can go take a nap and come back and set everything up. You know what I'm saying? And wait for
Yeah.
people to come back. So the longer the race, the easier it is to time. And then also the longer the race, the more you make because you're out there longer. So it's easier and you make more as long as you've got that time that day.
So while we're on that, how does that work? How does,
We'll get to the billing and stuff.
Okay.
Basically, you just do the work. And now there's an invoice feature built in the software where it should do everything for you. I've already got our default structure in there, so it'll generate the invoice for you.
But he'll answer those questions because I've never used it.
Okay.
I just have my generic.
I wanna shut up and listen.
Well, that's okay. That's,
Keep asking.
So, no, and yeah, keep asking because what if it's not in my notes to cover? And then
Oh.
if it's worst case, like, oh yeah, we'll cover that. So the other thing you have to know, besides the awards breakdown, besides what time the race starts, where it starts, all that stuff, you need to know, and besides how many races are we timing, you may discover, oh, we're doing a 1 mile fun run that starts at the same time and people will be coming and finishing at the same time. Well, the chip timing system will ignore the 1 mile if they don't want it timed. Often what I'll do is I'll say, how about I time it for free for you anyways? Because you're doing something, I do everything that's where it's like, it's not really that much extra work. And the race is like, oh, okay, that's like a huge favor for them, Now
Yeah.
these people, the people enjoy having a 1 mile time. And so, but also that makes it to where I can tell the volunteers, every person that crosses the line, you're hitting the space bar, you're writing the number down, right? And the bid number sheet, whatever. And so, it's just, to me, it seems like it makes things easier than every third person or every now and then, oh, ignore that one, Because sometimes they have a 1 mile fun run that's not timed, but they want to give the people a bid.
Uh-huh.
And so it's like,
Yeah.
the manual timers have no clue. Then
Right.
who do I capture times for? So for me, you may not want to do this in the very beginning. Eventually you'll get to where you can kind of time races in your sleep. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just not that big a deal. And so at that point you may say, hey, let me just have it. No charge, I'll time that for you for free. There's something that we're going to stress this year where we actually make money timing those free ones. And I'll show you in a little bit how. So you need to know what time the race starts, obviously. You need to know how far is the nearest power supply. Right now, we haven't needed to buy generators. And so if there's a race that's out in the middle of nowhere and it's gonna be too long for our battery backups to work, we simply tell the race, you need to provide a generator. Because I mean, that's a huge piece of
When the
equipment.
race
to carry
director contacts me or asks us about our time in service, I say, I have 3 things that we request. We need access to a power supply, whether that be a plug-in, outlet or whatever, or a generator, small generator. And so we have extension cords, but we can't be a mile, you know, that kind of. And then we ask for 4 or 5 volunteers at the finish line, and I forgot the other one.
I got it all right here.
Yeah. That way, people write down bib numbers as people cross.
Just a double.
That's the
just
backup
a-
system.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Somebody
volunteers run it. That's how,
You might have
We
one of the
never need it.
volunteers hit the space bar or the plunger, capturing their finishing time,
Gotcha.
or having a runner. Somebody always forgets to wear their tags, so they can run. I have a little form that I have, male, female, first name, last name, age. And then, okay, that was bib number, whatever. I can put them back in, it's gonna show up as red on the screen, because their time doesn't, they're not in the system. So then you can add that, assign that time to that bib number, they're in the system. Okay, but I need that runner, because I can't go do it, so.
Right.
so yeah, how far is the nearest power supply? And then, I wrote this question down, I don't know if we ever ask it, it's something you need to be aware of. If they say they're gonna have packet pickup the day before, and maybe they're gonna allow people to register, especially at the larger the race, you may find yourself where, even some small races can do this, where they've been accepting mail-in registrations, and they have all these paper forms they did not put online. So what you don't wanna do is find yourself at like, a mission run, I did this a couple years, I think, before I made them put it all in Google Docs. They handed me a stack of like 50 paper registrations at like 11 at night, the night before the race, right? And I'm like, oh man. So now I'm up for like another hour or 2 hours just putting these things in, you know? So you don't want to be in that position. And so I simply, you kind of want to be aware, okay, are you putting in your mail-in registrations on the website you're using? Or if not, create a Google Doc for them. You know, and we've got a Google Doc already pre-made. And one final thing, and I'll be quiet. And then, yeah, if they're going to have packet pickup there, that, you know, the best thing is to put it in some kind of electronic file that you just import, right?
I will ask the race director if they're accepting drop-off forms, or if it's a school function or something like that. They always have their paper entries. I submit them an Excel spreadsheet. Here's the information we must have for our system. Feel free to add columns or whatever you want, but add those participants to this Excel spreadsheet. Email it back to me, that way I can upload it. So that gets rid of, most of the time, getting rid of that problem that you have.
Okay.
Sometimes, most of the time.
All right, let me see my next note, and then I'll hook up the Wi-Fi. Yeah, so the other point that you're going to ask the volunteer, you're going to ask about the award breakdown, what time to start, all that stuff. You're also going to ask them, tell them, and this is part of the contract thing, I think, that we need at least like 5 volunteers. And really, you say 5, hoping you get at least 3, you know. And sometimes, like, there's a lot of races where there's one race that has so many volunteers, they had people just standing in front of me just to block the sun. And it's like, well, I don't know what else you can do, just stand right here, right? So, I mean, like, I love those races, those are great.
Grab a palm leaf and.
Yeah. How do you get it to where you can connect again? Or so I'm going to say another note. So if you talk to a race and they don't have the race set up at all anywhere, encourage them to use Run Sign Up. I try to be impartial when it comes to these companies, but Run Sign Up is so far ahead of the game on the tools they offer for timers. It makes our job easier, and it makes us look better because of the tools they offer. And it's all free to use. And so it's just awesome. Another thing
Good shirt.
is that this one, yeah.
No,
Oh,
Sorry.
this. Grab it.
I'll
This
just
is,
save it, please.
yeah.
There may be some in
Uh,
the kitchen.
Another thing, this is where the free races can kind of come in. When we do paperless registration, and you can,
Just tell me what it is.
yeah,
I'll do it.
well, I can't tell you today, I gotta look it up. There's a code. Right here. Alright, sorry, let me put this in.
Cinnabon.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't even
Straight
see
up.
those. Man.
We brought
That's
these.
not, that's snuck in.
Thought you were gonna have some.
Yes. All right, connected. All right, so back to my notes. Yeah, so if they don't have a platform they're using, if they're not set up, not only encourage them to use Run Sign Up, but even better, say, oh, I'll be happy to set it up for you. And you really will. Well, let me rephrase that. I'll be happy if you set it up for them, because as a Run Sign Up partner, we manage enough races. I've got a great relationship with them, and with Race Roster and a few other companies too. But as a Run Sign Up partner, when we push a race up and it's under our account, we kind of get a double kickback. We get a kickback for every registrant, and then we get a kickback because I'm a super partner. It's kind of strange, but it works out really well. And so for these races where they got a 1 mile fun run, and if we set the event up for them, or even if they use somewhere they place races online or whatever, and then we simply use Run Sign Up for race day registration, electronic race day, or paperless registration, then we get kickbacks on that. And so that helps me, because I'm basically giving y'all like $5,000 or $6,000 of equipment, saying here's a business, and I'm going to take years and years and years to make that money back, if I ever. And so, because what happens 3 years in, the equipment breaks, right? So I'm doing this, offering it, and I don't know that I've ever made money. I probably have, but it's one of those things that when I develop a system, I can't not offer timing services too, because we have everything. And so I will make money. The goal is eventually to where y'all are 100% independent, and I'm getting a small kickback, and I get enough timers where it's enough kickback to where I can handle one person's broken equipment. Does that make sense?
Right.
And so I'm sure I've made money, but it's one of those things that it's not a lot that I make on the timing services side of the business. And so, all right, back on track. All right, so I was going to let Chris talk about how races are passed out. And then, of course, the note is once you get a race, that's your race from now on, because you're familiar with the area, you know where everything's at. So I don't know if you have any kind of rhyme or reason how you pass them out. Probably you just most experienced first, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I mean, right now.
But this is new races, of course. If it's one of
It's
you've already
new
timed,
races,
it's yours.
yeah. I mean, I just fill out the calendar as we go. If a new race comes up, and we already have that booked, and I pass it on to one of you guys, then, like Brian said, that'll be your race from here on out. It's just,
You awarded all
because I'm
three.
already committed somewhere else, so
Then you'll have that race next year.
hopefully we get those, and we set a good example, and that lasts back next year.
Right.
Last year we had hook and ladder 5K in Searcy. It was our first Searcy race, and we got to use the fire truck for the starting siren, and it scared everybody, but that was great. And after I got home, uploaded all the stuff and the pictures and all that stuff, she just let me know that she said I had several people come up after the race and said this was the smoothest and most well-run race that they've ever participated in. They're runners at every race, so
That's good.
so now she's committed to us.
Yeah.
So that was on the list, and it's just
We hear that a
as long
lot.
as we can build that relationship. We've had very few races. Well, I had a race in Memphis that she did a 5K and a 10K, and her volunteers were handing out the bids. When it came to the 10K, they were just randomly giving out bids. Those are pre-signed. That's what the roster's there for. They were just random. So when this guy comes up and asks for his time, 3:27, he was a big boy. He's probably about 6'5", 280. You're not Samantha. No, I'm not. Well, every one of the 10Ks were off, but yet we got blamed for it. So she didn't pay for that race. All we got to do is keep $100 deposit. So
Now, that's not an issue anymore if you use paperless registration. With this paperless registration, that you have no concern about the volunteer handing out their own paperwork.
right.
So, and I'll explain how that works in a little bit. But like Chris was saying, we time a lot of races where what we hear is, wow, things have never gone this smooth. The kids triathlon, I mean, she is 100% committed to using us, and then she, after
Well,
3 or 4 years, kind of lost interest in doing the race because she's doing everything by herself, and there's a kids triathlon.
In Melbourne, I timed their cross-country meet, and then they have a cats tracks in October, I think. And since we did the Swelter cross-country meet, she invited us to do the 5K. Well, we did the 5K, Dad and I went up there, set up, did that. Race is over, done, packed up, got this. Wow, I've never been out of here. They've done it for 5 or 6 years. She said, I have never been out of here this early before. She said, I'm out here an hour earlier than I've ever been thought about
That's
it
awesome.
before. So she was just thought, here's the races for next year, see you next year. So I mean, it was
At
just
the stair
spot
climb.
on, already invited back.
We
So
stopped, we
it's
timed the
just
stair climb race, and she just, man, I can't believe how great this was. You know, she
smooth
loved.
as smooth.
Because I mean, it's stair climb. Someone's starting every random, one
Every
person
30 seconds.
every 30 seconds, roughly, but totally rough. I mean, because they had to sign a waiver and then just start whenever. And I mean, we had the awards out like right after the last person finished. People's times, for the most part, when they got to the top, were their real time. They didn't have to wait very long to see what their time was to climb. So we did a good job there. So yeah, so that leads. We talked about the paperless registration. My hope, you know, using papers. What I hope is everyone grabs at least, you know, maybe stick in your bag or somewhere some backup emergency paper forms, very generic in case you need them. But the hope is that everyone uses paperless registration, and I'll talk about how that works. Do each of your phones have a tethering option, hotspot option? Okay, but if not, I had to buy some kind of personal hotspot thing. Now, one thing I didn't write here, but it is important, I'll say, is that, you know, if you use data, usually if it costs you something, just that's a tax write-off. You know, like I can help cover whatever, but for the most part, you know, keep track of any food you spend on the weekends that you're timing, or you know, timing related. Keep track of your mileage. You report that, get it. You know, otherwise, 100% of what you made is going to be taxable. You want to drop that down as much as possible, reasonably.
I keep my receipts for gas, food, whatever. If I was going to get something to drink at the gas station, keep it. I keep a spreadsheet of all my expenses, just take that out of my proceeds from the timing aspect.
Yeah, probably. I mean, I'm not counting, but I want to say probably even some of your home internet can be discounted. You know what I'm saying? Like whatever percentage of your phone bill or your internet, you can just say, well, I'll say 20% of my phone bill is my whatever, right? So you just claim that as a taxable thing, and so. All right, so paperless registration, yeah, basically everything runs smoother. So on race day, you've got 2, maybe 3 things that are, I don't want to say headaches, I don't want to say strenuous, they're just the 3 major things. You've got setup, you've got to manage registration, and you've got to time the race. Well, with paperless registration, you cut out one of those. Because really, you just set laptops down. I usually have the browser up and ready to go. In fact, I'll show you what the browser looks like.
Things I've experienced over the past 5 years, people do this. They forgot how to do this. So you can't read the chicken scratch anymore. People forgot how to write. So
let me
with the laptops, hopefully, when we go to these, no offense to anybody, go to these Indian races, I don't have to try to interpret
Indian races.
You're just saying these names.
Yeah, we
Indian
have
names.
we have
Indians
races
are
that we
about this
time
long,
for
yeah.
Pakistan.
A lot of them are Pakistani teams.
really?
Yeah, we got 2 in Collierfield, yeah. And hey, awesome race, great.
Awesome
team.
races.
You just can't
They
read the
have
names.
like no vowels in their names,
No.
no consonants.
Let's see, I think this is
They take, it's like they take the last 5 or 6 letters from their parents' name and just add it to theirs, and it just
You don't need the Indian food either.
I experienced that.
Yeah, I got something I thought was like a pastry, and it was disgusting.
I got something to do. I was like, threw it off the
Yeah.
trash can.
But
So-
Brian was standing there right next to her. Is it good? And he didn't have a choice but did it.
Yeah. Where was this at?
Collierville, Tennessee.
Wow.
Beautiful
Hunger
area.
run.
Beautiful area, yeah. So you'll have laptops, or even really use, okay, let's imagine you don't have enough laptops or whatever. Just get volunteers with their phones. It'll look exactly, in fact, better, or the same. So they will type in their name, they'll register the person on their phone, and they can pay by credit card or cash, which, by the way, is another benefit with paperless is the credit card option, or debit card or whatever. And so you've got more options. It looks more professional. There's no paper flying around. No worry about getting wet if it rains. Like I said, unlimited supply of devices, because if it's a big race, you usually have more volunteers and they got more phones available. So just have them use this, which means you're not using your hotspot, your data. They're using their own. And so there's an app. It's a free app called RD Sign Up, and there's another one called RD Check In. I would install both of those on your phone, free. But yeah, here they do everything, and so the point is you can either have laptops or tablets. Like well, that's not a tablet. But if you got tablets, even some old crummy device you got at your house, as long as it's got a browser on it, and you can connect it to the internet there on site, then you can use paperless registration. And so the way it works is they simply fill it out. And what's nice with this also is you're not having to read handwriting. You're not having to be stuck behind the computer. All you have to do is, set down the devices, train a couple people, volunteers, that way if a participant has trouble, they can help.
Yeah.
And then you go back to the finish line if you want. And really, every now and then, you just may want to press one button to pull them in. That's all it is. Press a button, boom, there's your new stuff. And so, we'll talk about how the bibs get assigned in a second, but paperless registration is for sure the way to go. It just looks, I can't think of one benefit of paper over paperless. And the biggest thing is, it takes out probably the biggest stressor on race day. Is trying to get all that stuff in either before the race starts, or, you can really put the data in at any time. But typically, you want to get all that stuff in before the race starts. And then you got to rush to the starting line, start the race. And then you got to rush back and get everything turned on and ready. And then you can say, whew, okay, then you wait for the, well, no, during that time, then you're training the volunteers, okay, you stand here, you do that. You know what I'm saying? And so, imagine paperless registration is going and you're free to do whatever. Well, then now you can go ahead and start training the volunteers. Oh, yeah, you're going to stand over here. You can just mingle. You can enjoy it. And it's just great. So, yeah, that's for sure.
I've had as many as 70 day of entries to key in.
Typing in by hand.
It's okay until time for the email address.
Yeah.
And then that's just.
So, but when they go
Or
paperless, they
your
can just do it
fingers.
on their phone.
Yeah, or the participant can do it themselves
Yeah.
on the phone, from their own phone, yeah. Or they can go to volunteer and the volunteer's got this app up. It's so much better. And so,
Do a lot of people do paperless now?
we're gonna make, yeah.
Oh, we're making them, so.
Yeah, we're gonna go
this is
paperless.
not-
Even the smallest races, we're saying, oh, we're gonna do paperless search, and it gives them the big race feel, you know what I'm saying? So,
Awesome.
and like I said, we get some small, it's small, but we get extra kickbacks from it. So, because here's the thing, Jonathan and I are already in this situation. When you have a timing system, you have your own system. You're gonna be basically Seth Freeman timing. It's underage racing, but everyone's gonna know you. And you're going to have friends, because you're a runner, that, oh yeah, our church is thinking about doing this, or we're thinking about that, it's a fundraiser, and you're going to be tempted to do it for free, because you're a nice guy.
Yeah.
And really, to be honest, that's just the way it works. You're like, oh yeah, I can help you out. And the problem is, when you time a race for free, when do they want it? Like,
Oh, they want
how much?
it, yeah.
Every year they want it free. So now, if you decided, man, because when is equipment going to break? At the free races. When you're not making anything, it's going to cost you the most. And I hate to say that.
Are we responsible for replacing any broken equipment?
Well, we'll talk about that in a second,
Okay.
yeah. I don't want y'all to have to worry about anything the first year, because I don't
Okay.
want anyone to be in a position, I want to take that risk. Who wants to be in a position where you time all year, and then the last race something breaks, you're like, there's all year's profits, right?
Yeah.
And so, I don't want anyone to be in that spot. But we'll talk about that in a little bit. But it's also not fair for me, I make $55 per race that y'all time. And these are
$67.50.
$6,000 equipment, with the reader being like $1,500.
Yeah.
And so, how many years am I going to have thrown away if a reader breaks?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so, what I'm thinking, I'll go ahead and cover this now, is I'm thinking that, I don't know, it probably needs to be a certain number of races, or maybe a certain dollar amount that we can both agree to say, hey, once I've made $5,000, then I'll start covering 85%. So I get 15% of just the race fee, you get 100% of the travel, 100% of the hotel costs, whatever, but of the actual race charge, I get 15%, y'all keep 85%. So the way it typically works is $450 is our base, I get 55, 60, and you get $395 or whatever it is. So that's kind of the way it works. And so after maybe 10 grand that you've made, maybe at that point, we say, well, Brian's getting 1585, so on the hardware, we're splitting that difference too. Where if something breaks, because the idea is, when you own something and you have to pay for it, you take care of it better. I mean, y'all are probably responsible people, but there's another level you take care of something when you know, hey, this is mine. Like, I don't know, it's just different. So the goal is, once you've made, like, let's say 10 grand, whether that be this year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever, and maybe that's not the number we settle on. We're throwing out ideas.
Yeah.
And so, and I'm open to any suggestions on it from anybody, but then we say, okay, 85-15, I cover 15. And the thing is, let's say it's like, well, I don't have the 85% right now, my reader broke and I got a race this weekend. Well, maybe I up the 30% until it's paid, we'll figure it out. But it's kind of unfair to me to be everybody's equipment, because every year someone's gonna have something break. TVs, I replaced 2 last year, I bought 2 more. And I bought a brand new reader plus those laptops. It's just a constant expense for me, and I don't want to be in that position where I'm throwing money in the hole. I'd like for it eventually to where at least I know I'm breaking even, or maybe making a little bit. As we add more timers, maybe I make a little bit more.
Okay.
But I didn't start this. I didn't start the software to try to get rich. That's not my objective. I want y'all to do well, because I want you to stay motivated to do it. Because what we think is we have however many timers are here, and, Jay's available, and then all of a sudden, 3 of y'all decide, this isn't worth my time. And then now, all these races,
Yeah.
or let's say they do it next year,
They're on you.
we're in trouble, and we can't find timers that easy. It's not, because you have to be a right mix of someone who's familiar with races, when you've run races, you have to be a very personable person, that's number one. Because most of the time we get hired simply because we're easy to work with.
I'm out.
Yeah, we're cheaper, but now Chris is like the most personable guy ever. Like I said, they run up and give him a hug and everything. So, anyways, I'm rambling. Let's get back on track. Yeah, so that kind of spills into my next point here, is be someone that they enjoy working with, but at the same time you got to know when to be respectfully blunt if they try to do something that's going to jeopardize your job. And my example here, there's lots of things that could happen. Now, I'm going over worst case scenarios, by the way. The typical scenario is you show up and they're thrilled to see you. You've got your stuff laid out. You've got registration going, whether paper or paperless. You type all the stuff in, or you just hit a button. You time the race, you're done. It's not.
For the most part, when you show up, you're in charge.
Yeah.
The race director will basically have no idea what to do.
They're not gonna boss you around.
You take charge. When it comes time to do the results, I print them out, okay.
Yeah.
Here's what I suggest. You flip over the results, you start in the oldest group, and you save for the kids and the overall for last. If you do those first, everybody leaves, and then the older people don't get the recognition things. I can only suggest at your race, you do what you feel. That's what I would suggest. And 9 times out of 10, that's the way they'll do it.
Yeah.
So you're there for them, but whether you feel it or not, they really want you there because they don't have side duty to do it. And they know that there's 500 people they're counting on her or him to get this race done, and you're taking all the pressure off her.
Yeah.
So you just do your best, and
The rest will take it.
98 out of 100, it'll go smooth as silk.
Mhm.
Now,
Yeah,
there's
you don't have
still
to.
little concerns along the way, little bumps on the way, but you'll be all right.
So my example I was going to give is if you show up at a race, and this is a time where always be nice and respectful. I don't know that we've ever had a race director that we had to be mean to. They're usually really cool people. But the example I gave here is that let's say you show up at a race and they said, oh yeah, we'll have 5 volunteers for you, and they've got nobody. And then the race director, no, you're doing everything, because now you got a manual system that you have to decide, do I even bother with it? Usually what I do is I have that little plunger on my right side, and I'm watching the screen to make sure everyone gets picked up. And I'm plunging, and if I see for some crazy reason someone go by, I'll plunge in and I'll write and make a note. And then I may have to run over manually, myself, and hey, what's your bib number? And let's say 3 or 4 more people come through. The system is going to get, like Chris can tell you, like it's extremely rare that we have a miss. Like we've got multiple antennas throughout the finish line, and the person's got a tag in each side of their body. And so we do chip starts with hundreds of people flooding through in seconds, and it like 98%, right?
Mhm.
This is with antennas on the sides only, not mat antenna or anything else. And so you're going to have it, if someone goes by and they're not picked up, it's usually because they just didn't wear their tags. So in
Or
that
they
case,
don't follow directions and they leave them on top of each other and they're both on one side.
or it's left on the bib.
Or on the
Because
bib, yeah.
This is the way we pass
Because
them
they'll
out.
be pinned together on the bib and they'll just wear it right there.
We
Well, it's
pass
on
them-
top of each other and the antennas can't read it.
Yeah, so this is the way the volunteers pass them out. And they may leave them there, and when they're sandwiched together, they can kind of cancel each other out. Very rare.
It does happen.
But it can happen. That's part of the pre-race announcements you'll give at the starting line, of course. Hey, make sure you got a tag on each side, whatever. But so the point I was going to give, though, where you may have to be a little bit, not rude at all, but just kind of be very frank with them and say, oh, well, hey, there's not any volunteers here, so and they say, well, I was going to run in the race. I know I need your help. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I need you to help me. You didn't provide us some volunteers, and so I need you to be hitting that plunger. And it's an easy job. I just need your help. And so, or maybe you're the one doing the plunger, and they're writing down at the end of the chute, the numbers in order. So that's just, be aware that because the thing is, let's say that they did something that jeopardized the timing. There are not many reputations on the line for this race. They're not going to think twice throwing you under the bus. Well, the timing system has some kind of problem. But they're the ones that totally did something weird, and right. So.
Hence
I
my
guess-
example.
Well, one example, I guess, is that, I'm not going to give the race out because the video started here, but, we've done some races where we set the finish line, and all of a sudden, the crew shows up. This happened a few years in a row. A crew shows up that wants to set up a big arch around the finish line. They ask us to move all of our stuff out of the way, or really what they were doing is asking us to wait till after the arch is up to set our stuff up. And they wouldn't set the arch up till like 15 minutes before the race starts. And we're like, we got to set up a whole finish line? It was not 15 minutes, probably 30 minutes to an hour.
Yeah,
It was
quick.
pushing it. And so that's where we had to, I think you went to them and said, look, we got to have it set up earlier, right? So just got to Those are
Should be
rare,
fine, yeah.
just know that, always be respectful and friendly, but also don't let someone walk all over you to where
Mhm.
it's risky. How to dress. I always say dress in the wintertime or when it's below 70, like it's gonna be 20 degrees colder than it really is. Because you're gonna be sitting in one spot for hours and just sitting there, and the wind could be blowing, and it could be terribly cold. So dress super warm in the winter. Obviously keep in mind your fingers and stuff like that. You may have to, if you're typing or having to do whatever. And in the summertime, you may be out in the sunlight, and if you don't have a tent or don't want to set it up, because sometimes I just don't bother. So you wear a hat and just whatever. So just be aware of how that you should prepare for the extremes of the temperatures, not what it is. So
I've got one of the bigger pop-up tents, and during the summer months, cross-country or whatever, or even early spring, it can get hot sitting in the sun.
Oh, yeah.
And I went to Lowe's and bought, it's not ground cloth, but it's something, and I'll wrap it around the
Oh, yeah.
corner
Yeah.
just to be in the shade. Because that sun beat down on you, and it blocks the sun so it doesn't
Mhm.
beat on the screen, so it just kind of shade screen for me, so just an idea.
So another comment about doing a race for free. If you do a race for free, again, just insist that they use Run Sign Up or Race Roster. I have partnerships with both of them, preferably Run Sign Up. Both companies, great companies, nice people. I've met with them multiple times, but Run Sign Up right now is the kind of in the lead. All right. I mean, I have some comments about. Well, I guess I just want to hear from you guys. What can make a race day easier? What is there anything? Yeah. You may have some critiques on the software, but with 400 users, I probably already have everything in there. That I don't know that the software can get any better than it is.
What's the easiest? I feel like I time a race, and that's like 3 more months, and then your brain goes to
You
blow.
forget things.
Yeah, and you forget, and you're like, all right, what would I do in that situation again? If someone crosses and they don't register on the software, it brings up red. It's red, right?
Well, so if they cross and nothing appears on your chip timing computer, that probably means they weren't wearing a tag or they wore it wrong.
Right.
And so keep in mind, you get someone sitting to your right.
If they don't have their tag on, it's not gonna, nothing will show up
Right,
on the
yeah.
screen. But if a red number shows up, it was either my fault where I programmed it incorrectly, or they weren't in the system.
Okay.
Chances are they weren't in the system.
So what would be the best way?
You
to...
captured their finishing time,
The person next to you is doing this for every
and they're just capturing finishing times.
yeah.
So you could look at it and say, okay, on my list, that's 32. You can write that number down,
Mhm.
and if there's a break, yell at the person writing bib numbers down on their sheet. What was participant 32's? Place 32, what was that bib number?
Oh, so
Or you could say after participant, or if you could look at your screen,
who was
and
after
that person ran after 427. Who finished after 427? And then you assign 427 to that time, get in the system and hit enter, and they're in the system.
Yeah, when
Quick.
someone's capturing times manually, and when someone's writing numbers down over here, and of course with you having all the times, and there's a, I guess if there's no times, you may just want to reach over and hit it, capture a time, at least a dummy time. It'll be a few seconds off because you'll notice
Yeah.
after they finish, you could just reach over and say, oh, we missed one. Then, like Chris said, you have a red time there, or a red entry, and then you can, I like to have pen and paper
Mhm.
close, and that way I can just make a quick note if it's a really busy moment and say, okay, question mark after bib number, whatever. And that's all you really need.
Because they're gonna give you what they have
They're gonna
written
give
down.
Whoever's writing the bib numbers down in order
They're
will
gonna
give you that after
yeah.
the race is over, and
And
then
then
you can punch
double
that in real
check.
quick before you print out the results.
Yeah, and there's no rush to get that entry in right after it happens. Just, make a quick note or do something, because you have all the pieces of information you need. You've got the times over here, they should kind of match up with your chip times for the most part.
And if you do have that runner volunteer, that's when you use them to go get that person's
Yeah.
information.
Yeah,
And
so
if they
we call it over,
cross,
just have
and
someone.
if they cross and don't
volunteer
even
just-
have the RDIF
If they don't have a
tags,
bib on, ignore them, they're banded.
really?
Yeah.
Okay. That's easy.
Assume they're banded,
Yeah.
because if they sign up for the race and they don't even bother to put the tag on, they're not really
Yeah.
responsible enough to be.
Sorry, bro.
Now, let's say Jonathan crosses the finish line, his time shows up red, all you see is bib number 45, but no name, but it's red. What that means, you look and his bib number is 45. The tag shows 45, his bib number is 45. What that means is that for some reason he's not in our system. And so,
That's when you have to have somebody grab that person.
yeah, so hey,
No,
Jonathan, come
because
over here, hey, bib
I
number
need your
45.
first name, last name, and male, female, that kind of thing.
And just
And then-
add a.
And then during the break in the action, you can minimize the screen.
Just minimize, go to plus.
And so,
add
like,
replacement.
and there's no rush again. I would wait till the break in the action. With it minimized, it's still tracking in the background, doing everything. So if someone finishes, no big deal. Here, you can just say, okay, well, that's bid number 45, Freeman,
Okay.
and then,
So,
Jonathan.
but someone needs to be hitting that space bar every
So you're
round.
right, yeah.
That's the backup.
Yeah.
Yes.
So if push comes to shove, you can take the finishing bib numbers,
Yeah.
match them up with those
There's
plunge times,
Yeah.
and still have results.
there's the timing and there's two backups.
Yes.
So yeah, you got someone
That's riding the bibs and then someone that's,
hitting the plunger.
Hitting the
Yeah.
plunger,
Okay.
the space bar, and
Yeah.
the backup computer.
okay, gotcha.
And they
Like
get,
Ryan said, most of the time,
So you
Carson
have two computers set up?
oh yeah,
yeah,
Okay.
we
That's why
always
you
have two
need-
computers.
Gotcha, that's what I was gonna,
So when Carson and Dad go, Dad's always hitting the plunger. And Carson's making sure the time system is working.
yeah.
So when I go, depends if I'm by myself, I'm watching it, and I'm like Brian, I'm hitting the space bar.
Yeah.
And if there's any issues, I don't care who's standing over there, I'm yelling, somebody grab that person, send them over to me. I don't care if they're a volunteer or just standing there watching.
Yeah.
Somebody send them my way. And it's, you just have to take control sometimes.
yeah, you should hopefully never need to rely 100% on the manual backup. It's just there as a reference to say, oh, what was that time?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Like you
hopefully you never need to say, oh, the only time you ever need that, even if this computer shuts down in the middle of the race. Let me just show you what happens if you, let's see the time, 57,
I had to use-
58. If it shuts down in the middle of the race, let's say the software just, the computer just restarted, okay? Just pull it right back up, the clock is exactly where it should be, like it never shut down. So in a worst case scenario, if something the only time you'd ever want to give up on this machine is, is if it shut down and will not come back up. That's the only time you should ever have to go back over here. In a worst case, it shuts down and Windows does an update and it's down for 5 minutes. Well, still, you've only got 5 minutes of data to put in, then every bib number that was captured for the whole race if you're to rely on this
Right.
system. So this system is really as a reference system to see any times.
I was timing Green County Tech's, his cross-country meet one year out at CRC. Girls race, glitch-free. Guy started, the reader said it was connected, wouldn't connect, would not recognize anyone as they crossed the line. So basically, I had to sit there and punch the space bar, and then I had to use the finish line bib sheet,
Mhm.
and I had to match them up. So there was a little delay
Yeah, and that was
for the
because,
junior high boys, but that's the only time in 5 years that I've had to use.
and that was
the backup
because the
system.
tags were programmed to be race specific, but not for the race he was timing. So
I don't know how that happened.
yeah, that's the only way it can happen is if the race. There's an option in the software which I tell people not to use unless they really know what they're doing. Of course, I didn't tell Chris that because the more I thought about it, I was like, yeah, you really never need to use this unless you're timing a race.
I did that my first year. I did like for Sillamore, I did them specific for the 25K, the 50K, so they didn't get mixed up. Well, then when people come ready to, oh, I need to drop down a race, or I want to,
Or they just start late for whatever.
I start
reason.
late, then I couldn't change them.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and
So
I don't know if that was just happened to be a bag that got stuck in the back that got overlooked, but I haven't used that functionality in years, and then that race, everything crashed.
So anyways, there's a separation of duties where the person, your volunteer that's over here, they'll be like, oh, I'm doing something. Yeah, all you're doing, you saw the little plunger in the bag over there. I can show you. So
When someone comes through,
you just hit the button.
Missed punter.
And if I don't have a plunger for you, or let's say you left it at home, space bar. That's all you do. And so
Now, one thing,
even
the
at big
difference
races,
between, go ahead.
I'm sorry, even at big races, that's not hard. So I mean,
If
even
you have
got-
three people coming at one time, you don't try to go like this,
you
just
just
one,
got
two,
one,
three.
two,
No
three.
big deal.
it doesn't really matter on
No,
the-
because this is a backup.
It doesn't have to be millisecond accurate.
Right.
I mean, the thing is, even let's say 5 cross at the same time. I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You'll see that all those are within a second of each other.
Oh, yeah,
second
like,
and a half.
I mean, we're talking,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
So
not the
what I
limits.
tell people,
Yeah, exactly.
what I tell people is get the number of times right, not
Yeah.
the times right.
right,
And so because you need to, because here's what happens during the race. Someone runs by and I'm like, oh, wait a minute, did that system, did the chip system miss them or not? Well, I can look down and see, I've got 27 times captured. How many you got? Well, see in the bottom left, or the left, 27. So you can always reference back and forth, say, oh, I've got 27 times, you got 27 times, we're good. Okay, so,
Yeah, I will always have the computers almost face each other so I can reference
Yeah.
those to make
Yeah.
sure that I match.
Yeah.
And then if somebody else is doing it, periodically I'll say, how many you got? 27, I got 27.
Okay.
Now, one thing that we do different is the camera hookup. he puts it into
The chip timing.
the chip timing computer. When it crosses, it takes a picture.
Automatically.
Me, I set it on the backup computer so that when that person hits the finish line, even if they don't have their chips on, the tags, if they forget to put the tags on, we still have a picture of them. So there's a little,
There's pros and cons either
Pros
way.
and cons
I
either
like that idea to where.
but he likes it so that the system does it itself.
And the reason why, two reasons for me. First, let me give you the benefits for doing it, I'll say Chris's way. On the backup system is, you're right, if someone goes by, and I'm distracted and I didn't see that their chip was picked up, then we've got no record of them. Now, we'll figure it out eventually, oh, wait a minute, there's something wrong here, right? But that may be 30 minutes down the road, where, and then trying to figure out where that is, it could be a little hard. That's an extremely rare case, but you at least have a photo of them, okay? Now, we do have our camera recorder always recording the whole thing, so we get it if we have to, if we can't figure it out. But what I like, though, is I like to hook it up to my chip timing system, because when Joe Blow Race Director comes up, or if I just want to have the freedom to kind of walk around, when I see someone run through the finish line, now, as you see, whenever a time is captured, the system does go bing, bong, but it's not, when you're outside, that's not very loud. And so, the camera clicking, though, is much louder. So I can walk around and mingle with people, and okay, hey, here's John, or Frankie, sling this, or whatever. He runs through, and I hear click on the camera, oh, we got him. And there's no concern, because I know the chip timing system is triggering the camera.
Gotcha.
And so, plus,
Multitasking.
well, the thing is, I know, as ADHD as I am, or whatever it is that I am.
What?
If I'm, like, if I had a volunteer that was me, they're gonna get distracted, oh, I missed that one. You know what I'm saying? I'm afraid there's gonna be more photo misses with manually than there is with it's automatic. So,
Okay.
so anyways, we're about done with my major things. Yeah, so I guess any ideas on what can make race day easier for Chris or anybody? Or, you know, you've done a couple, I don't know if you, now, yours is not really the best example, it's not really great to ask you, because yours was such a 3 races dropping people off and just craziness, right? So I mean, there's a lot of ways that we could have maybe, we pulled it off, but it was, but anything that could make anything easier.
Well, I'm kind of set in my ways, and
Didn't you a long time ago, even like a year ago, put videos up on how to set up the stuff? Or am I?
I've got
Am I thinking-
hundreds of videos on YouTube on how to do things. And,
Okay.
obviously, my goal with the 400 users, or actually 400 plus timers using the system,
Yeah.
is I can't, you know, this is all me, right? And then Jamie Chandler does the hardware stuff, but even on the hardware support, I do that. And so, so my goal is to put as much stuff into the software. So let's say you get this laptop or whatever, you bring it home, or you've got more laptops you have the software on. I tried to design everything. You need the charger?
No.
Oh, I need my notes.
Oh, those are your notes.
Yeah, that's my notes. So, here, take this if your phone about to die.
No, I'll just, here, I'll take it just for a second.
So, where was I going? What was I saying?
I was talking about videos.
Videos, yeah. So with that many users, you'll see that almost everywhere in the software where anything can be confusing, I put a little question mark button. So like above athlete type, what does that do? You can click there and it shows everything that list can do. You know, what is this feature over here? Why is that? Why do I have to pick a time zone? You click there and it says exactly why. So anything that,
Okay.
you know, I try to make it to where the software is as user friendly as possible, because again, it keeps my support low. I didn't want to have to give up my full-time job or be in that position where I'm like, oh man, the business is growing. I can't handle anymore doing this too.
Yeah.
And so, is that a note to me? I don't know what- let me pull my notes back up. So checkbooks. So ultimately, I'd like to give everyone that, if Chris has got checks, you can do Carson and yourself. I'd like to give everyone their own checkbook, which I know is like, why would you do that? Just write, like, no, this is, I'm sure, not advised by anybody else in the world to do this, but like, I'd rather you guys get done timing, and the moment I send you a picture of the check, because that's what I do, is when it gets in the mail and I got paid, write yourself a check and be done with it. Because if you're having to wait on me to mail checks out or me to do PayPal,
Yeah.
now PayPal, if you have PayPal, that's fine too. But if you got a PayPal account, I guess we'll do that. Otherwise, was there a reason why I said not to do PayPal? It's probably because there's
do
just so
family
many.
and friends.
Well, there's just so many, you know, Ms. Chandler's sending equipment out almost every day. And so the PayPal money coming in and out is just
Oh,
crazy.
yeah.
So when I do my taxes, I'm trying to figure out what did I pay everyone?
I
Often
don't
it's
know if
better
you're
just,
like are familiar with Venmo or something, but Venmo's
I've used it before.
it's a good way to do payments to
But here's the problem. PayPal, so hopefully PayPal's not watching the video, but PayPal, I can do the friend or family option, and there's no fees. With Venmo and some others, I think there's probably fees involved. So it's like, am I getting that fee? I'm only getting 15%. I'm taking a fee off of that too. You know what I'm saying? Or you hadn't a fee, whereas checks, I'd have to order checks, and the fees with ordering is really low. So.
So you just sent us a picture of what the cost was of the race and we
Well,
described it.
Chris sends invoice, and
Okay.
probably a good idea to carbon copy when you send the invoice to the director, the timer. And then when I get the check in the mail, then I send it to you guys, oh, by the way, this check came in. And if I don't know who it goes to, I just send it to everybody, saying, hey, this check came in. And then after that, just write yourself a check. Now, you can
I
either,
assign each race a number, so that when I send out the invoice, it'll have race 327 or whatever, and I
Yeah.
try to put whoever timed it in front of that number, so it'll be Jonathan 327, so race
And
327,
so-
you timed it, and
So no taxes are held out though, right?
no, yeah, so I'm just writing you a check for that percentage. And so,
Gotcha.
yeah, you'll report that as your taxable income or whatever. So,
Okay.
if your proceeds, travel, lodging, whatever,
Yeah.
race fee, $500, you cut your check for $500, and in the memo line, write down what the race name was so that he can track it
yeah.
when it comes
That
time to
was
do it.
another note of mine, is write the race name. Because you may write yourself a check for like 4 races and maybe all came in at one time,
So
right?
what was like on the expenses and stuff like that, that's just coming out of our pocket, right?
During race day, yeah.
If you,
Yeah.
if you were
Then you
to,
keep track of that, and then when your income, when it's time to do the income taxes, or when I pay the boys,
Yeah,
I've got a list, okay, I paid them so much for this race, and I just keep track of my expenses.
gotcha.
That comes out, because it's gonna look like I made $1 million when I didn't.
Yeah.
So I deduct all that, okay, here's what I actually made
Right.
time in the race.
Yes.
Gotcha.
so, yeah, I mean, like if you were to go at a restaurant, yeah, that's your, now the hotel, the race covers it.
Most of the time
Or,
they'll,
in a worst case, maybe you cover it and then they reimburse you for exactly what it was.
Yeah.
it just depends on the race. Most of them will have a room donated, and I will, that's one thing, depends on how far it is from driving distance from us. I will say, okay, due to the driving distance, we'll request 1 room, 2 beds, that way whoever goes with you would
Yeah.
have their own bed, that kind of thing. In a place that you would feel safe and secure staying. In most places, it'll be a Hampton or a Comfort Inn or
Oh, yeah.
Holiday Inn Express, something like that. So, I mean, there'll be a nice place.
But the travel cost also helps with the food and everything else, because I mean, it's 70 cents a mile, but one direction, so if it's like 100
75
miles,
cents on one
70,
way
yeah,
basis.
right, 75 cents. So if it's 100 miles to the race, it's $75 you make. Well, it's not, that's gonna cost you, I mean, 75
Oh,
miles,
wow, that's,
I mean, you're gonna,
You make money.
you make good
yeah.
money on that travel.
That
The thing
is.
is, that's actually much lower than the government regulated whatever standard for mileage, but it's still plenty for travel and eating, so.
Yeah, churches, we do, I think it's like 58 cents, so it's.
Total,
it's
like total mileage, I'm sure.
yeah.
not
Well,
just one way.
It's 58 cents a mile.
Yeah, I know, but like not just one direction. So I'm saying
Yeah,
you charge
yeah,
the
yeah.
race for, if it's 100 miles to your race,
Right.
200 miles round trip, it's only $75. So,
oh, gotcha.
yeah.
Oh, I see what you're
We charge on a one-way basis. We look at,
I
when I send out the invoice, Google Maps indicates it's 100 miles. Therefore, 100 times 75 cents,
Gotcha.
travel fee $75.
And the software, by the way, if you use the invoice feature, it has fields in there where you type in the mileage, it does everything, it calculates and spits out a pretty whatever. Another note I have in here is if you look at this screen, eventually you'll create your own races. Right now, in the beginning, either I or probably Chris will create the race for you and just email you a database, and then you plug it into your computer. The software's got everything that Chris set up for you, all the race details. Eventually, you'll set up your own stuff, or even after Chris maybe emails you the stuff, there's this feature here that says Timer's Notes. Here's the thing. You may be dealing eventually with so many, I'm sure Chris deals with so many race directors, I wouldn't be able to keep straight all the stuff they tell me. Oh yeah, power supply's over here, we're going to have this over there. Oh, when you get here, do you mind to do this? Well, if he's dealing with, I don't know how many race directors in the spring and again in the fall, there's no way I could keep track of all that stuff and have to look through my emails, because I don't want a couple days before my race I'm having to search through all my emails and read everything again. So you can cut and paste the most critical things you have to know and plug it into this race in the Timer's Notes field here. And so that way,
Well, I went to Google's, I think I went to Google Docs and sent you a picture and kind of pointed where the outlets were and
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
kind
You
of a
did.
screen shot of,
Yeah,
here's the
you
finish
did.
line, they start down here and run past.
Mm-hmm.
see, the software has even got the ability to add images in for this race, that, important images. It's got a course mapping feature which allows you to add any kind of files. So really, the software should be able to let you organize your races instead of having to, oh, well, I got some emails. I remember an email she sent me a month ago that said something. You know, just
Yeah.
hopefully plug it into here.
Sure.
You don't have to, but it's just a tip. And then we've also got this tips area right here. This kind of, I even do it for every race, even now.
Oh, that's smart.
So where this is like, hey, before race day, make sure you've done this, right? And so all that's built into, again,
Never seen that page.
what? Yeah, it's in there. Yeah.
I've seen it.
So it's on the timers notes tab, and then you got the actual notes that you put in, and then my notes for you, like my tips. So all the stuff a lot of stuff we've talked about is here, you know. Oh, in fact, that's a good question too. I forgot to even put my thing. Number 7, are hotel accommodations needed if you talk to a race director?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
other-
what I would do, if it's your first race or whatever, sometime in the morning before the race, give the race director and verify what the age groups are.
Mhm.
Because I've had a couple this year
That's
that
true.
changed at the last minute, so when it came time to do the results, well, I told you everything was different, but they never let me know, so the age groups were a little different, so I had to change. After they started announcing the awards,
Oh, man.
we had to make the changes, and, it was,
Interesting.
I mean, it wasn't difficult to change, but it
Yeah.
just doesn't look good, and
Yeah.
you feel a little low at the time.
Maybe my only other notes, I guess, I'm not gonna go cover it, because I know it's already kinda late, but, I was gonna go through the process, or at least talk about, when the race is over, we wanna, when we advertise our services, we often say, we upload photos, videos, results, everything. So, but I think what we sometimes do is we don't, we just upload the results, so you're done. And the race director doesn't even know that we have this stuff we can upload. So let's get in the habit of, after a race is done, what's nice, again, another perk with Run Sign Up, is you can take the memory card from this, and you can go to the event page, and again, even if they didn't use Run Sign Up, you can hit one button here and create an event page on Run Sign Up, okay? And then that's free. And then there, you can log into Run Sign Up. I'll give you my login credentials, you use my account, because I've the one's got the partner thing, right? So any kickbacks helps go into the Tommy Services side, which, by the way, the money that comes in here, I've got a separate checking account for, and my goal is, as we hopefully trickle money in, that's what I use to buy y'all's equipment. So we may decide eventually there's always stuff to buy. There's always stuff to buy. Like even those tags, 10 cents a piece that cost me, but it's the time it takes to make them. But like, this is, when you're feeding in the 15%, trust me, a lot of it's trickling out too. So I mean, so any kickbacks y'all can help bring in, that'd be appreciated. And so where I was going with this is, the Run Sign Up. After the race is over, it really is clicking one button and it pushes the results up online. That's it. And so after the results are up, then you go to Run Sign Up's page, and there's an option that says photos, and you say upload photos, and you drag and drop the photos in, and that's it. I mean, now they've got Google Vision and all kinds of stuff built in to where it automatically maps that person with that bid number to their photo. Really awesome stuff.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. They are top of the game. Like they're amazing. Super great
So
guys.
do you have to drag over every photo that was taken?
You just drag and drop them, all the
Oh,
photos.
Just bunch them together,
Oh,
drag
gotcha.
and drop.
Okay.
Highlight
Now,
first, bottom, go.
now the Google Vision, the thing is, if the camera wasn't close enough, you may find that only was 50% accurate, or it may be zero. None of them mapped up. But it does a pretty good job. So you can actually click on each photo and type in, okay, that was bid number, whatever. You can edit the stuff, and to be honest, I take the time to do it, because you're going to find one guy who, my photos don't show up. They're on there. They just go to the master photos and then find yourself. I don't. I just do it for it. I take the time to go ahead and map every person, and then you also upload the video to YouTube. If you got a Gmail account, you have a free YouTube channel, okay, that you can use, or you can use mine. Chris knows my credentials. There's no problem. You upload the video to YouTube, and then you can take that YouTube URL, put it in the results page, and now there's a couple ways you can do it. It's not hard. You tell it kind of when the video starts, what's the clock say, and then from that point forward, Run Sign Up under everyone's time has a video link. It jumps them to that part of the video to finish. Really awesome stuff.
That's cool.
And so all free, and it's one of those things that eventually I'd like for y'all to try to do every time, and after a few times, like, oh yeah, I got that part. Like, and then eventually you're 100% self-sufficient. Chris can pass your race, and like the moment we pass it to you, in fact, what I absolutely love is when Chris tells me about a race he timed, like let's say the day before or whatever, and I had no clue he even had a race. what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
that's what I want from everybody eventually. That's not gonna be for the first year or two probably, but eventually I want it to where Chris passes your race and he forgets about it and like, this is yours and we're out of the picture. And so, again, you're gonna act like and feel like and it'll be just like it's your own thing. It's just, we're feeding you customers and you can get your own.
If somebody reaches out to you and wants you to
That's
time
your
a
race.
race, just let me know so that I can add it to the calendar,
Yeah.
Google
So
Docs or
we're
whatever,
not
and at
just
least
overlapping.
I have a spreadsheet I use at the office, because that's where everyone communicates with me.
Yeah.
And I can't get to Google Docs at work, but I have, at least I have that spreadsheet, so I can say, okay, we've got 4 races, that's gonna be spreading us thin if we take more, so I have to work something out. But one thing that I do ask is, ask from the race directors, not from you guys. When I contact the race director, I will ask them to bring a jump drive. That way, when the race is over, I can provide them with all the results, all the participant information if they want it, the pictures and the videos. They have everything. If they want to put it on their Facebook page, it's their race. They have all the information. Some people will bring it, I forgot.
The jump drive, the results.
Just a jump drive, that way I can provide them with everything pertaining to their race that morning.
The software makes it easy to get PDF copies of the results out, like a couple clicks and boom, there they are.
Mhm.
And then the photos you can, I've never done that, but it's not a bad idea.
So throughout the week, the race director is pretty much just in contact with you before the race.
Or whoever the race director is.
And then you're getting everything kind of set up and then,
I'll have everything set up.
oh, really? So you're the one that's communicating?
Right now, I'm doing everything.
Got it.
I'm
Okay.
doing everything.
That's what I was trying to,
Right, I'm doing everything.
Okay.
So Friday night, Thursday night or Friday night, the way it is right now, I will have everything set up.
Mhm.
I will email, like Brian said, the database, which will have the race all set up, ready to go. I will upload depends on when I get the information. I will upload, well, it depends if you're going paperless or not. If you're going paperless, then there's no need to assign bid numbers, but I'll put everyone in there, so to speak,
gotcha.
correct?
At the people?
The
Oh,
participants.
yeah, typically you've done that. Everybody up to the point you email, there may be still more people coming in,
Right.
but yeah. But again, it's one of those things, eventually, you may
I've never used paperless either, so that's new to me too.
for the first race, you may decide, hey, Chris, y'all do everything, I just wanna show up. And that's what we want. We wanna make sure that if it goes well.
Oh,
and
I expect that
we
for
want
the next.
you to stick with it, so
forever,
whatever it
as far
takes.
as I'm concerned, it's just, until you all are comfortable doing your own thing.
Yeah, we want you to stick with it, so whatever it takes, don't think you're asking too much.
Yeah.
But, hopefully after one race, you may say, you know what, I'm gonna try to do this part of it, right? And then you just keep adding on things that you're taking responsibility, and then
Yeah.
eventually you've got it.
But
I
if you, at your race, if you identify something that works good for you, speak up,
Do it
pass it
different,
on.
yeah, you don't have to do it our
So,
way.
Yeah,
it
okay.
might help us too.
So,
I never hear anything. Yeah, we're good.
while we're on this screen, almost every screen has a watch video demo that tells you what that screen does. So I mean, like,
Oh, wow.
there's all kinds of help tools in the software.
Yeah.
So I guess one quick note about paperless registration is let me give you an overview of kind of how it flows.
Yeah, I need to see the setup and how it works and how
Okay,
you set up the races.
I'm
and all
willing
that
to
stuff.
stick around for however long, but I know you need to head out probably before too long. I'm just gonna give you an overview, and if you wanna hang out longer, we'll go into more detail. And I know you got a little one, so it's amazing she's doing fine.
You get more phones.
Yeah.
So let's say you were
Yeah.
gonna do Sylamore paperless entry, how would you set
Well,
that
I've
up?
already got the Omega race, and they're expecting it, so we'll
Okay.
use that.
Okay.
So
Omega.
I've got a user's form. Let me show you. When you open up the software, it pops down from the top of the screen here. So it kind of pops down and docks right there. And then here you've got this link under help that says user's form. Okay, so anything that you ever have any questions about, typically you can go in here and let's just write the word paperless. And I've written a post on exactly how to set it all up. So let's do paperless race day registration, step-by-step guide. Okay, and so I think I put a lot of details in here that maybe aren't necessary, but this I still follow it. So this is prior to race day, do these steps. And I wrote everything out in tremendous detail. It really is just click, 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 and you're done with like 4 of these, right? So I just want to make it kind of overly descriptive.
Yeah.
And so, number 1, log in and run sign up. Number 2, go to race day registration / sign up, right? So you just click on the menu items, get to it. So you kind of figure out here, this is setting everything up. In fact, I did it for the Omega race. I may see if there's steps out of here I can cut out. But if you follow this exactly, you're going to get good results. So the thing with, for paperless registration is that this is another benefit of it. You tell the race director, hey, there is no ending of registration. It's online all the time. So like you don't have to cut off the night before. You just leave it on. There is no shut off.
I've had people show up at the race 5 minutes after it started,
And still want to
and
register.
still want to register and participate in the race.
I've had people
What's
show up when I'm tearing down saying, hey, I just want to donate to the race. Okay, we'll just go to the website and register. Or yeah, I know Run Sign Up has a way
So
you
it
can
never closes registration.
well, I usually close it, let's say the race at 8, I may set the close at 12 at noon.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so, because you don't want
That
to.
way, next year when you reactivate it, it's still not collecting for last year.
Well, another thing too is, like Chris said, what if you did have it closed at 8 because the race starts at 8 and then someone shows up 5 minutes later? I mean, you have to, what's your name? You have to manually put them in instead of letting them, just go. Because here's the thing, if you're timing the race, I wanted to say, go over there and let them be out of my hair. Otherwise, you're standing there, what's your email address, what's your name, whatever, and they're there for 5 minutes.
So now they can be added to the race just by going to their phone and.
Or from their phone if they have it.
And then we download it.
You just hit one button and that's it. So if I'm timing, let's imagine I'm timing and they just put themselves in. So time race, oops. Now this race is not on Run Sign Up right now. Otherwise, let's say I'm in the middle of timing, I can minimize the screen, I hit this sync button. Actually, I did push it from Run Sign Up. I hit the sync button and it pulls everyone in, and that's it. And then now I can pull back up the timing screen and it's done.
Okay, what's that asking? Are you sure you want to publish?
Oh, this is also.
You're not ready to publish yet.
Well, this is actually to Arrow Live Results. I've got my Arrow Live Results credentials
Gotcha.
on the settings screen, so it's thinking, do you want to push this Arrow Live Results? I can hit
Gotcha.
no. But yeah, I just hit sync and it pulls them in. And so like really within 5 seconds, I can minimize sync.
As long as
pull
you
back
got
up.
your hotspot up, and you're connected to the internet, you can see it sync and it
Mhm.
downloads everybody.
And the thing is, let's imagine
That's it,
it's
I
such
can
a
use
crazy race that he jumps out, runs the race, and finishes before I hit sync. No big deal. It shows up as a red unassigned time. At some point, I'll minimize the screen, hit sync, and then pull back up the screen, and boom, there he is. So it doesn't matter even if he finishes before he's in the system. Just
And it's usually good to have someone over there kind of manning the paperless registration too.
oh yeah, you want a couple volunteers. That way, if someone's like, well, who knows what questions they may have. And every time I've done paperless, I walk over to the volunteers. I say, hey, was there any problems? How did things go? And the ones at the race day registration were like, they look like they were just bored because they're just standing there watching people put stuff in. So I haven't had anyone say, oh yeah, this guy had this trouble doing that. It just works. Okay, let's step back from all this and look at what's it look like. How do you set it up? Not in the software, just physically. How do you set up this stuff?
Race day setup.
Race day setup. So again, you're going to bring, if you got tablets or I've got spare computers, you can bring some of those. You're going to allocate a couple computers for small races, maybe 3 or 4 for bigger races, to where they've got the URL. I think I pulled it up a second ago. So they've got this screen ready to go. So as long as this screen is up and it's connected to the internet, you're fine. You just lay it out, and that's the last you have to worry about registration. That's awesome. And so, the way this works, of course, they fill in here, fill that in, fill this in, and they hit continue. All right, so let me put in, this is first name. And then, looks like you gotta do 19. And then gender.
79 AD.
Yeah. And now you don't have to. You can say that email is not required. I'm gonna go. I want them to put the email address in because this software has an email feature to where it can send everybody the Run Sign Up URL and all that stuff with the photos and results and links and all that stuff. So I'm gonna make people put their stuff in. So basically, just fill out the screen, hit next. Now there's only one option here, so just hit next. If they, for example, they got walk, run, maybe it's cheaper. They may have multiple options here. So they just hit
2
continue.
races, that kind of thing.
Now this is part of your software, right?
No, this is Run Sign Up.
This is
So,
Run Sign Up.
Oh, this,
Yeah.
okay.
This is the paperless run sign up aspect.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and so they just sign the waiver, hit next, pick what shirt size they want,
Wow.
next. Now again, on the phone it looks exactly the same way, next, whatever,
Yeah.
and real easy. Runner, walker, next. And then,
Now, if your race is not giving away Walker awards, you won't see that. It's just
then they have to hit
automatically
next,
signed up for runner,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
So here, they can say, well, I'm paying by cash. And they can turn, they simply pay by cash, and then none of the credit card stuff is available here.
Mhm.
Otherwise, they type in their name, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Okay? And so, now, we could have it if the race director says, well, I don't want someone just accidentally hitting cash and walking off or whatever. There's a feature they have where when you say pay by cash, the volunteer has to type in a code to say, yes, I'm verifying I've accepted that money.
Okay.
I've never had to turn that on, but it's there in case someone asks. So yeah, you just do pay by cash, and I'm not gonna hit continue because it may actually register for this race, and then I can take myself out, but I don't wanna have to do that. But yeah, so when you hit continue, then it basically comes to a confirmation screen, and then I think automatically after 10 seconds, it goes back to the home screen, ready for the next person. Or,
And then they go to the registration table.
so yeah,
pick up the bib number.
after they registered, you could have it to where the bib number is assigned during registration right then, but the way I like to do it is have all my tables, so where that's my registration area, and I've got another table as my check-in area. And so, let me show you the race day check-in app. And again, I recommend that you download this.
Is that, my understanding is the next,
That's what the icon looks like.
when they go to the
I got
check-in
that.
table.
What is it?
This race day check-in.
Okay.
Now, this is
Can I
the,
see this real quick?
no, you don't have to do it now. Yeah, I wouldn't, no, she would freak out if I took it. So this is the race day sign-up. So if you didn't have laptops or spares, or if you needed more, because let's say it starts getting busy and you want someone to help with the sign-up stuff, maybe there's a line forming and you only have 2 computers, right? You may say, hey, John Doe volunteer, whatever, can you install the RD sign-up app, the race day sign-up? And then they can be there helping people register, okay? Or since you have the free member, because you're not tied down anymore with paperless, so you can just walk over with your phone, hey, what's your name? I'll get you in here. So yeah, there's all kind of things to do. So the thing is, the check-in app, let me see, race day check-in. When you open that, it will have the ability to select the race. Let me do find your race. Omega. So as soon as I start typing, it finds it. Now, when we set up the paperless, it usually makes you put in a code. I may have already had that code put in. Anyways, the point is this has every participant. And all you do is, you can either do a search, let's say Bobby, let's say I can't see the screen, let's type in B-O-B. You just start typing first or last name, any part of it. Then I hit check in, and whenever I do that, it'll ask me to put in the bib number. So what happens is you've got one table, let's imagine that corner is my registration area, and this is my check-in area. So the volunteers there will say, okay, yeah, after you register, just head over to the check-in area, okay? Those that are pre-registered, they just go straight to check-in. And what happens, that's where your stack of bibs are. So now, one of the headaches we've had in the past is that we may have bib numbers that are not sequential. So when we do a
It's
data
random
import
leftovers from other races.
from other races, and so when we do that, then when Chris or I or whoever is doing a data import from online, or the software is simply going to assign sequential numbers based on, you tell it where to start and it's sequential. Then you got to go back in and edit, and it can be a headache. Well, now there's no more concern with that because the volunteer can hand them any number they want, and you type it in here, and then they check it in.
So just,
And I'm gonna give them 327, you type in 327, they're checked in, here you go, they're gone.
then
And then the
It
software.
doesn't matter what the next bid number is,
Right.
they're just grabbing one
It's
and
all-
signing it.
allocated to that number. Okay.
Yeah, and the software has the ability to where you can say, when I hit the sync button to pull in people from Run Sign Up, I only want people that have checked in. So therefore, you can have 300 people register on Run Sign Up,
Yeah.
but only 3 have checked in. When you hit sync, boom, just those 3. So you know you're getting people with the right bib numbers because they've checked in that morning. And another great thing about paperless registration is at the top of the screen, let me show you the timing screen here. At the top of the screen, it'll say total participants. Right now we've only got 1 because we get put Jonathan's name in here. Let's imagine it said 300. Total finishers, let's say it said 20 or whatever, and the total did not start DNF, whatever. Well, with the paperless registration, we're only hitting sync and pulling in those that checked in that morning. So now our total number of participants is truly our total number of participants, not just everyone that
It's
registered.
300.
It's 300 participants,
Yeah.
not 400 registered, and we don't really know how many's participating. Now, the assumption is that they checked in that morning and they're running. So the thing is, it's possible someone doesn't, but it's a much more accurate list of numbers at the top
Yeah.
than simply pulling in all participants. So,
Okay.
Because if it's pouring down rain, you have 100 participants registered.
Yeah.
You know you only have 35 out there.
yeah.
It'd be nice to say, okay, rather than
Done.
me having to go through, didn't I start
Mhm.
with leftover bibs or waving my tags in front of
Yeah.
the reader, the did not start functionality. That's,
Okay.
So the check-in area, no computers. It's just people with their phones. That's it.
That's awesome.
So you just need a couple computers for the paperless registration. That's the ones you gotta make sure have Wi-Fi. And again, I have a hotspot feature on my phone. I've got my laptops where they can hook up. In the worst case, if you get there and it's like, oh, well, I'm on a carrier where I don't have hotspot, if you've got anyone there that's got, cell phone connection and they can get online, and even if they say, well, it cost me, hey, I'll give you $10, like, whatever it takes.
Yeah.
Or worst case, whip out your paper registration forms And then, but then you're stuck there,
Yeah.
having to do registration, typing everyone's info in. Now, just so you know, you may not want to have to bring extra paper forms. You may just want to bring a ream of paper, and then the software here, if you go to registration form, you can simply print off the registration forms on race side. So, again, very generic. I could put a course map here if I want to. I could put details on the left. I didn't for this race. So in a worst case, if you get to a race and you find out, oh, I thought I'd have Wi-Fi, but I don't, or I didn't bring my charger, my phone died. Worst case, you can print off registration forms, say, okay, you guys put that in, I'll have to type it in.
Mr. Dick paper fashion.
That's not fun, because you'll be scrambling, like trying to print them out and whatever. I'm just saying, I've tried to think of everything you possibly could do to where you're not ever stuck in a situation, and the software can help you.
Cross your T's and dot your I's, man.
Well, the thing is, I poured my heart into this because, again, I didn't want to develop something and release it to the public, and I'm not making, I'm not, other companies are charging a whole lot more, many times what I charge for a system. And so, I'm not making enough to be able to handle if everyone's wearing me out on problems they're having. So, this needs to work well. So, yeah.
Okay.
Well, that was a whole lot. I don't expect you to memorize or know anything after we leave here. The whole idea is that you're presented the idea, and hopefully, like some of these things will start coming back to you as you really apply them. And you're
Yeah,
gonna
your first race, you're gonna be going,
What?
what?
yeah,
What was we
we'll
supposed
be
to
there.
what?
Yeah,
well, I
that's what
say
I'm
that
saying.
we weren't for Jonathan, but like what we should.
Oh, they were?
Well, he came to a couple of my
I did,
races,
I did.
Oh,
and then his
okay.
first real race, he did it on his own. Like,
Oh,
it was
it was doable?
that was not.
Yeah,
that
but
was,
it helps. Like, I'm a visual guy, so
Yeah, I mean,
he killed it. He
Hands-on
killed it.
is
He
the
did great.
only way to go.
yeah, like you can lecture me all day, but it's like, all right,
Well,
until I get out there, I'm gonna get my
what we
hands on it.
typically do
Yes, then.
is have you come and just observe the first race, and then you're
Mhm.
given the next race, but
Come
we're
set
there.
up.
We assist only, and then hopefully by the third race you say, I
Even
may
if
have to
there's
Brian, keep the
another
phone on
one-
you in case I need you, but I think I've got it, right?
Okay.
even if y'all got some in Jonesboro here in the next few weeks, I'll probably come out and just watch.
Everything will be correct, yeah. Carson has one February 16th,
Pictures.
same morning to Sylamore, it's downtown Paragould,
I
run for presidency. So if you don't go to Sylamore,
You wanna stop the video?
don't think I'll be going to Sylamore.
go down there and hang out, do whatever